You're watching Built in NL on NTV.
So we've had an unbelievable amount of rain for the last couple of days, but the skies have started to clear and it looks like we can finally get started on our foundation walls. We're pretty fortunate to have all the rain hold off on us while we get our footings in place, but that changed pretty dramatically the next day. The heavy rain actually caused one of our dirt piles to have a little landslide. My little brother Matthew got the unlucky task of having to clean out the keyways that we worked so hard to make. But that certainly won't stop us from getting this foundation wall up today.
So guys, today I'm joined here on site by insulated concrete form specialist with Newfoundland Styro, Jeremy Canning. Jeremy, thanks for coming out, buddy.
More than glad to, Mike.
Jeremy, we had an awful lot of rain here last night, buddy.
We did, Mike, but we're not going to let it dampen our spirits.
I guess we're looking at a large volume of product here today.
We are, Mike, but you'll be surprised how fast we'll use it up.
Well guys, last week we actually took a little field trip to Newfoundland Styro's plant in Bishop's Falls. Why don't you come along with us and check it out?
When we finally got to the Newfoundland Styro plant location in Bishop Falls, we were blown away by the size of this place. This 80,000 square foot facility employs about 30 people from around the region and produces products used all over Eastern Canada and beyond.
Mike, in '97 we started off with 10,000 square feet making insulating shipping containers, mainly for the fishing industry and medical field. Since then we expanded to 80,000 square feet to supply residential and commercial needs in insulation, and also our ICF system.
This is our ICF block. The beautiful thing about the system, Mike, it's your studs, your insulation, and your concrete wall all built in one. As you can see, there's chairs inside that even accept the rebar to keep it in place.
Jeremy, it looks to me like this is probably a pretty simple system to put together.
It do go together very well. It's been referred to many times as big Lego blocks. It's got all the same basic building principles, but very easy to install.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. I guess, Jeremy, aside from that, we're looking at some foundation plus sheeting here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the application that we're going to use it for?
This is sheeting that we make here. It comes in, because we manufacture, we can make all different thicknesses. This sheeting is a 2x8, but we also make 4x8s. The main use of this sheeting for you on your job is going to be underneath your slab to prevent the heat loss through your concrete floor.
Excellent, yep. We could all use a little less heat loss, I'm sure.
Another thing you'll be using is an attic vent. Basically that's going to go fastened to the underside of your roof sheeting so that when you're blowing in, insulation goes in place, it will still allow the air to filtrate through the soffit into your attic space.
Perfect.
Well, Mike, maybe the thing you might be using most of all on your job site is this nice cooler.
But coolers and ICF blocks aren't the only things we're making here. Jeremy and John took me around and showed me all kinds of different products.
Mike, this is our polystyrene that come in raw base form, and this is expanded, ready for molding.
It's a fascinating process, really. They take these little tiny pellets of styrofoam, expand them using heat, and then mold them into whatever shapes they need. Here, for example, you see a massive block of styrofoam that's about to be cut into pieces to create various shapes and sizes of insulated panels. These super hot wires just cut right through it. Then it's on to the packaging area. Very little is wasted during the manufacturing process, and over 90% of the waste material is recycled back into the system and reused. The team here is very proud of the fact that it has a direct positive impact on the environment.
We're proud to say that we employ 30 people around the region.
I gotta say, you couldn't ask to meet a friendlier bunch of people. Each one of them are proud of the work they do, and it really shows in their products and their services. So here we are, we're back on site, and we're getting ready to install our forms. First we have to set our shoe in place. This will be a guide for the outer edge of our forms and keep them in place while we're pouring. Here you can see Jeremy apply the adhesive that temporarily holds our blocks together. Now we're finally ready to lay the ICF blocks. We always start at the corners and work our way inwards. This makes it easier to fit the final pieces into place. Now that we've worked our way from both ends to the middle, we can cut a piece. We just use a handsaw for this. Now that we have our first row of insulated concrete form in place, we can begin to set our rebar in place. We carried on at a steady pace just like this through the bad weather, but just like Jeremy said, we didn't let it dampen our spirits. We eventually had all of our blocks put into place.
What Mike is doing right now, he's framing 90-degree corners out of 2x6. Every outside corner will require one of these braces. What we do is we use our level, we plumb it up, we put 2 diagonal braces on it to support it. That way it keeps our wall strong and sure while we pour the concrete.
Now we're ready for the final 1x4 support strapping along the top edge of the wall.
Now bring her back to this corner. There you go.
I even have time for a quick visit with my family before the trucks arrive. It's nice to remember what this is all about. Pump truck is in place and the walls and supports are ready. We'll just give it one last inspection before we start the pour. Everything checked out and all of our measurements were fine, so we're going to fill these suckers up with some concrete. Here we set the anchor bolts into place in our wet concrete. Later on, these anchor bolts will attach our bottom sill to the foundation. And it's all looking pretty good, I must say.
So after only about an hour with our pump truck, we poured this thing. And I gotta say, Jeremy, I'm pretty impressed.
Mike, you know, it might have took 7 hours. The first one's always a learning experience, but you know, I was more than glad to come out and help. That's a service that we provide at Newfoundland Style. Not only will we distribute and sell the product, we also provide service that will come out and properly train you to install it. So I think it went well.
I think it went excellent, actually. And Jeff, what was your impressions of it all?
I thought it was a great product. I'll definitely use it again.
That was definitely a pleasure to use. So, I guess now all we gotta do is backfill.
The next thing we have to do is install our weeping tile. The purpose of this weeping tile is to direct all of our water away from the home.
Okay, so the plan today is to install this weeping tile. We're gonna put some rocks up against it to ensure it doesn't float away as we're putting some stone on top of it. We're gonna use 1.5-inch stone. That 1.5-inch stone will actually be like a pre-filter, which will allow water to travel through it and get into the weeping tile. On this weeping tile here, there's a sock. So that sock is actually a secondary filter, and that'll stop all the fines from getting into our weeping tile. So a lot of times fines will actually build up inside your weeping tile and stop the flow of water. We're going to use a few joiners, purpose-made joiners, to complete the install. And when it's all said and done, we're going to sling some aggregate over the top, some 1.5-inch stone, and then we'll be ready to backfill.
The aptly named Stone Slinger was able to reach nearly all of our foundation perimeter. But some of it still had to be slung around by hand. My little brother came to the rescue again, and I really don't know what I'd do without him. So before we get started with backfilling, we're going to check in with Darlene, who's drilling our well, and make sure we get everything in place that she needs to install our pump.
This is actually going to be filled in.
Because our home is a slab on grade, Darlene is going to install a pipe chase. This will allow her to install at a later date her water line and her electrical line that will head to the well. We'll see Darlene again in an upcoming episode when she comes back and drills our well. Coming up after the break, we forge ahead with our groundwork.
Okay, we're this way.
And we get a visit from our plumbers. Stick around, folks. We'll be right back after this short break. So there's one more task left before we let Greg do his thing again. We'll set all the levels so he knows exactly where to backfill. Here you see me mark off the levels with a spray paint can, so Craig knows exactly how high he has to go with his fill. So there's one more task we're going to get Craig to help us with before he gets out of here, and that's install our culverts. Once the culverts are installed, we can begin to build our driveway. Now that Craig has our foundation partially filled, we'll fill it the rest of the way with stone. This will allow us to have a bed to install our plumbing in. Now that we've backfilled the foundation, Craig and his team will compact it with a large reversible tamper. So today is a pretty important day. We're done with our foundation. We're going to get some more work going now with regards to plumbing. So we've hired the best in the business, and they're going to take us through the process 100%.
Hi, my name is Steve Nickel. I'm co-owner operator of Newfoundland Plumbing Heating.
So Steve, when did you guys start operating?
We started our operation in 2008 with 2 employees and 1 pickup truck. And now we've grown to 6 trucks and 8 employees.
So I guess you guys certainly branched out a little bit in the last couple of years.
Yeah, we used to be strictly just residential construction, and we branched off now. We got a commercial division in our unit.
So I guess we're here in Tor Bay today, but that's certainly not the extent of your guys' reach.
No, we do work all over the island. We even went so far as Labrador to do some work up there. So we go all over the place, wherever the work brings us.
Sure. I guess with regards to this project here today, what's our biggest challenge here?
I would say the biggest challenge on this project is where it's a slab on grade. You need all your measurements. You need to double, triple check your measurements to make sure everything is perfect, because there's no real room for error on a slab on grade house.
It's true. I guess a little bit later on in the program we'll probably talk a little bit about your in-floor heating service, but that's something you guys certainly do, and we will avail of for sure.
Absolutely, can't wait.
Stick around, folks. We'll be right back after this short break. Now that we have all of our pipe installed, the Newfoundland Plumbing and Heating guys are going to take off and give us a little time to cover it up with some gravel, wire mesh and styrofoam. It's critical at this point to ensure a nice level bed of gravel. This will prevent any issues later on when installing our concrete foundation. So now that the plumbers have completed all their underground work, we're going to start in on installing our in-floor heating system. This rigid styrofoam insulation helps prevent heat loss from our heating system. By reflecting the heat back into our slab, it makes for a more energy efficient install. This will be the bed for our in-floor heating system. Once we finish laying all the rigid styrofoam, it's time to roll out our vapor barrier over the top of it all. Here we are laying some 6x6 welded wire mesh mats. Not only will these mats make for a stronger floor slab, but it gives us something to attach our in-floor heating system to later. The only tool needed for this job is a set of bolt cutters.
So we're back today to run the piping for the in-floor heating system. We're using the Uponor piping system. The first thing we're going to do is lay out all the zones and determine how many zones we're going to have, where our manifolds are going to sit. The second thing we're going to do is start laying out our pipe. We usually go 6 inches off the exterior wall and 8-inch loop centers, and the maximum we usually go is 250 to 280 feet per loop. Last thing we're going to do once we get all our loops laid, we will pressure test the system and make sure that the pressure stays up.
Now let's visit the EMCO warehouse to learn a little bit more about the products we're using on this build.
My name is Dave Smith. I'm Operations Manager with EMCO Corporation. At EMCO, we pride ourselves to provide superior plumbing and heating product to the industry. One of those products is Uponor, which is a flexible PEX pipe that Mike is using in his in-floor heating in his home. There are many advantages to using Uponor pipe. One is a 25-year warranty, which covers the pipe, the fitting, and the joint, along with consequential damages, meaning that they will look after any damages in the home or building.
Now that we have our in-floor heating system installed, we're ready for the cement finishers to pour our floor.
My name is Michael Whalen. I'm with Whalen's Masonry and Concrete. Today we're going to be pouring concrete. We're going to be taking laser shots and hand troweling and finishing the floor.
Thanks for watching, folks. Come back and join us again as we continue to show you how a house is built in NL.